Hi, Mairi here from Change is Always Possible with a great big sigh because I've just come across documentation from the NHS which was updated in January that changes the information about PCR tests. And um, I've been writing about the problems with the PCR tests for months now, and in fact wrote repeatedly to my MSP here in Scotland with my concerns, and he responded to me eventually in a very rude and unprofessional way, saying I was spreading dangerous information. So I hope that he has the humility to apologise for that behaviour now that this information is that the stuff I was trying to alert him to is actually on the NHS website. So yeah, I'm feeling a little bit smug, but not really, because it is really alarming that this information has been out there. I have tried to disseminate it. I have tried to share it with my government representative and been knocked back. And the professionals who've been sharing this information for a very long time now have been censored and silenced. And that makes me feel that there's something more going on here when we are not only allowed to hear the information from one side of this debate about how things should have been handled. So just to put the record straight on the PCR test situation, what it actually says in this section called SARS-CoV-2 retesting in staff, patients and residents in health and social care settings. Immunocompetent staff, patients and residents who have tested positive for SARS-CoV-2 by PCR should be exempt from routine retesting by PCR or LFD antigen tests within a period of 90 days from their initial illness onset or test if asymptomatic, unless they've developed new COVID-19 symptoms. This is because fragments of inactive virus can be persistently detected by PCR in respiratory tract samples following infection, long after a person has completed their isolation period and is no longer infectious. So let me just say that again. Somebody can have fragments of inactive virus in their system long after they are no longer infectious. And that is the whole problem with the PCR, that people have been testing positive and they may not have had symptoms, and yet they've had to isolate. Places have been closed, families, friends, whole, classes at school all got affected by this. And because they're saying there that you might have tested positive even if you're asymptomatic. And as I've written about, and as many experts have been saying, you can test positive when you are not infectious. And now, surprise, surprise, the NHS is finally caught up and they are saying it now. So, and they're also saying that if somebody did retest within those 90 days, they tested positive, you would need to take a clinically led approach, they say, taking into account other factors before you decide if they've been reinfected. And you would have to look at symptoms, and you would have to look at their underlying clinical conditions. And another thing they're saying you'd have to look at is the cycle threshold values. So yet again, here is the evidence that has been out there for a very long time, that the cycle threshold values matter, and that you can test positive long after you've had or been exposed to the virus and when you're not infectious. So yes, I feel vindicated, but it's not something to feel happy about or to feel satisfied with, because this information, these tests, have been driving this whole pandemic in our approach to all the different rules that have been brought out, and they have this flaw. And, you know, in the past, the way that we have decided that people have a condition is by clinically determining what's going on because of symptoms, and that could be backed up by a test. But what we've done throughout this pandemic is we've taken the test as the evidence of illness and infection, and it can't show that. Oh God, yeah. What else will we uncover that certain experts who've been censored and their information suppressed have been trying to tell us for months? History will be very interesting on this whole pandemic.